So today we are looking at factorising and solving quadratics, okay? So we'll factorise the expression element and then solve the equation element. So that word factorise then. Factorise is the inverse of expand, okay? Expand in the double brackets, remember the FOIL expansion, first, outside, inside, last. This is the total opposite. I'm going to give you the answer, you've got to give me the question, so to speak. So we had double brackets like this, we had to expand. So we had a times a is a squared, a times 5 is 5a, 3 times a is 3a, and then 3 times 5 is 15. And then we had to collect the like terms in the middle. So we have a squared plus 8a plus 15. Okay, please watch the video on this first before you have a go at factorising. So to factorise, we're going to have the expression and put it back into the brackets. Now the little clue I'm going to give you here is we have a 3 and a 5 to make 15, but also we have a 3 and a 5 to make 8. Now hopefully you realise that 3 times 5 is 15, but 3 add 5 makes 8, okay? And that's not just a coincidence, it is there for a reason, okay? So bear that in mind when we have a look at these harder questions. Now, these questions I'm focused on today are in the higher tier as well as intermediate. However, I'm not going to go on the ones that are strictly just for higher tier. I'm going to concentrate more on intermediate tier up to higher tier. So we have to factorise x squared plus 9x plus 20. So my first step, I'm going to do the factors of 20, okay? Because I need to find two numbers that times to make 20, but add to make 9. Now, some of you might know that in your head already, but if you're unsure, let's do the factors of 20. When you do the factors, start with 1. 1 times 20 is 20, then I've got 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Now, looking at those factor pairs, which pair of numbers am I going to use to add together to get a positive 9? Well, that's going to be 4 and 5. So for my double brackets then, we know it's double brackets, okay, because we can see this squared element here, okay? As soon as it says squared, we know it's quadratic, which means double brackets. The letter we are using is x, because that's what we have in our expression. Now, to make a positive 9, we have to add 4 and 5 together, which means they are both positive. Okay, and then obviously 4 times 5 is 20. Let's just check that. When it comes to a Gcse examination, you don't have to check it. I just want to show you now, just for this video, to show that has it worked. X times x is x squared, x times 5 is 5x, 4x plus 20, and you can see here then 5x and 4x is 9x, x squared plus 20. Okay, you can see this is exactly the same as this here. Okay, so I've used the inverse just to check. So as I said, when it comes to the exam, you don't need to do the checking element, just factorise by putting them into brackets. Okay, so that's the factorise element done. Easy peasy. Then we have this word then, hence solve. Now sometimes it's written on one big line, sometimes it's like part A and a part B of a question. But solve means they want to see x equals something. Okay, solve means find the value of the letter. Okay, hence solve. This is the only time you'll see the word hence in a maths exam. Okay, it should be a big ringing alarm bells for you. Oh yeah, that's the factorise and solve bit. Okay, so you'll notice these two are exactly the same. However, this is now an equation because it says equals 0. So in order to solve it, you have to factorise first. So we're going to bring this part, this answer, down into here. So we've got x plus 4, x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, now to solve this, we are going to have two answers is a quadratic, therefore we have two answers for our x. So we could have x plus 4 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. Now, to find the value of x, we have to eliminate the plus 4 by using inverse operations. So therefore, x is minus 4, or inverse of plus 5 is negative 5. So our answers are x equals minus 4 or x equals minus 5. You have to write it like that with two answers. Okay, this comes into play when you talk about quadratic graphs. Okay, with a quadratic graph, okay, we have, you see these are my different axes, then this would be the line of perhaps x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, you'll see we have two answers where that intercepts my x-axis. Okay, so these are two parts. Okay, quadratic graph, positive quadratic graph, smiley face. Look for the video on YouTube there. So let's just repeat that skill then. So factorize x squared minus 3x minus 28. You'll notice I've used negative numbers this time. Okay, similar sort of pattern then. Factors of 28, 1 and 28, 2 times 14, 4 times 7. Which pair of those am I going to use to make negative 3? That's going to be 4 and 7. Okay, so we know it's definitely going to be double brackets because it's a quadratic. The letter we are using is x. Now we need to find two numbers that times to make negative 28, but add together to make minus 3. Okay, when we have to add these together to make minus 3, but 4 add 7 is 11. So now we're going to think about the negative elements. Okay, if I had minus 4 plus 7, then that's going to give me a positive 3. Okay, that's no good to me. I need negative 3. If I had two positives, as I said, would make 11. That's not minus 3. How am I going to make minus 3 out of 4 and 7? Well, I need to have a positive 4 and then add a negative 7. Plus and a minus is a minus. 4 take away 7 is minus 3. Okay, so the two numbers I need are 4 and 7, but the symbols we need to use is a positive 4 and a negative 7. Positive 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. Okay, but then to add them together, 4 plus minus 7 is minus 3. Okay, that might take a bit of practice, especially with the negatives. Remember, practice makes perfect. So that's factorize. Let's solve. Bring your answer down. So we've got, when we factorize, we had x plus 4, x minus 7. Okay, it's going to equal 0. To solve then, we're going to have two answers. We're either going to have x plus 4 equals 0, or x take away 7 equals 0. Inverse of plus 4 is minus 4, and then inverse of negative 7 is a positive 7. So there are my two answers, the two values for x, one being minus 4, one being a 7. Okay, so just to quickly recap. First step, factors of that last number. Okay, pick a pair then to make the middle number, or this middle coefficient, and then be careful with positive and negatives. Once you've got it, might be worth just checking, do a bit of FOIL expansion to see if you're right. Okay, because you won't get the marks for this if you've got this wrong. Okay, just bear that in mind. And then we have to use your factorization, equal 0, split it off to both equal 0, then one step equation by using the inverse to solve. Hope it helps. Have a go.